Hey everyone, Austin here again, doing a series of videos on sort of how I make my videos, or I guess the process of creating them. And there are a variety of steps in that process, from, recording the footage, to editing the audio, to putting the video together in my editing software, to just making thumbnails. And I wasn't really sure where to start with this series, but today I just got the motivation to show you guys how I make some of my thumbnails. So that's going to be the first video in this series. I have 3 videos up here that I actually just uploaded to YouTube. They're unlisted, so you guys won't be able to see them. But it's Castlevania Bloodlines, MUSHA for the Sega Genesis, and Outrun 2019 for the Sega Genesis. So yeah, I'm going to sort of show you my process of what I do when I make these thumbnails. Sometimes they're easy, sometimes they're hard. You guys will kind of see as we go. This might not be the most entertaining type of video, but I know some of you guys have wanted to see sort of the behind the scenes on how I operate my channel. And so yeah, this will be the start of it. This is going to be a casual series. This is going to be like off the cuff. This is going to be live. I'm not sure how edited this is going to be. So if you're the kind of person, that needs things chopped up into, 2-minute videos, I apologize for that. I originally wanted to make a scripted, how I make my videos, series, but, I'm so busy all the time just trying to crank out these Let's Plays, and when I don't have Let's Plays uploaded like this, I am sitting in the background, behind the scenes, practicing for new Let's Plays. Like these games right here, I spent pretty much all last week playing. So it eats up a lot of my time. It eats up a lot more time than I think people probably realize, especially with the amount of games I've played on this channel. Like, I have to dedicate a lot of time to practice now. Yeah. And that a lot of time is still not as much time as I would like. So, but yeah, I basically am not going to be doing these scripted because I want to save what little energy I have for actual scripted content, if at all possible. It's been a while since I've done a scripted video, but, so yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and just, fire up Photoshop here. I use Photoshop CS2. This is a very, very old version of Photoshop, probably 2005 or 2006. The reason I use this is that I don't make enough money on my channel to really justify purchasing the Adobe Creative Cloud suite, which it's like $10 or $15 a month just for Photoshop alone, and then you can pay more to get Adobe Premiere Pro and things like that. I've been using this since not too long after it came out. I actually do own a physical box copy of this. So I just keep using it. It works in Windows 10. It is a little glitchy, but I just deal with it, for the price of free, basically, as of what it costs right now. It is worth it. So what I have is I have a few different templates here, and just to give you guys a heads up, I also have templates for like my Patreon support bars and my super chat bars and things like that. As you guys can see right here, these are the bars that slide out in the video. We're not going to edit these right now, but I also have Let's Play templates, which is what I basically use for my Let's Plays. The templates are 1280 by 720. They used to be a much lower resolution for my old videos, but YouTube began allowing 720p thumbnails. So once that happened, I started going to 720p, so the thumbnails are much higher quality. I think you can actually do higher than 720p. But that makes things a little more difficult because you'll find that there's a lot of box art and stuff like that out there that isn't even of that size. So you need to make the box art stretch. Like this right here in the background, if you just sort of get rid of everything here, you've got basically the Quake box art. The only reason I'm able to have it fill up that much without being blurred is because the source box art I was using was just of a very, very high resolution, which is nice. So I have some other templates as well. So let's see, we've got my YouTube live stream template right here, and this is the Wolfenstein 3D Spear of Destiny thumbnail. Some templates I just kind of leave as is because I might need them in the future. So like the Wolfenstein 3D I'll probably need in the future. So I just have all these layers to the side here. Let's see, there's the divider, there's that. There's all the text. There's a gameplay and talk logo right here. The thing about this black bar in the bottom sometimes is I'll just literally move this down to the bar and then just have black space on the bottom for the live stream information. So that's actually a design choice I made for Spear of Destiny. And for this one, I actually, instead of grabbing box art, because getting high quality box art was tough, I just grabbed the title screen from the game. So I fired up the game, took a screenshot, and it turned out pretty well. So, but yeah, we're not gonna be messing with our live stream right now. So we need some thumbnails for my Let's Plays, and let's get these Patreon and Super Chat ones out of here right now. We can go ahead and maximize it. So one thing I like to do is I like to use the coverproject.net. The Cover Project is a really good site that has a lot of covers. So this is really great for NES covers in particular, but I always check this place for, you know, Genesis stuff as well. And well, pretty much anything. So we're going to go to Castlevania and see what they've got for Castlevania Bloodlines. So generally when I you know, make a box art, I go searching on the internet, I look for covers, and I sort of take them and try to make them my own in a way, sort of. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to download this one. And one thing I can also do, and I'm just going to kind of show you what I can do here. So now that we've got that, let's go to my downloads. And just bring it into Photoshop. So just like that. And so this is actually a fairly high quality box scan. So I mean, typically what I could do is if I've got a good high quality box scan like this, I can just, you know, highlight a certain amount, copy it, paste it in, and then what we're going to do is transform and then rotate it, because you can see how it's kind of crooked just a little bit. And we're going to try to get it about as even, I don't know, just sort of eye it. That's a tiny bit better. Still not perfect. And then we have to transform it to make it larger so there aren't any borders on the sides of the screen. So, you know, that's kind of, it's okay. I'd prefer something a little bit better, but to be honest, sometimes you have to deal with what is out there. So in this case, it's kind of, you know, there's some specs from the original box scan and things like that. So what I would normally do is I would zoom in and notice how this is kind of, you know, I don't know. You know, you could tell that it wasn't a perfect box when it was scanned. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll increase the brightness and contrast, or lower the brightness, increase the contrast. So we've just raised the contrast a little bit. And the thing is, this is a thumbnail. When people see it, they're usually seeing it on their phone screen, and it's usually, you know, the thumbnail for the video. It's small, so raising the contrast and lowering the brightness usually isn't really a big deal. It's only when you see the thumbnail blown out that it looks kind of washed out and stuff like that. But raising the contrast, you'll notice that what it did is it sort of got rid of some of the other spots there. And if I wanted to blow out the contrast, I could do that. It's not worth it. I raise the contrast just a little bit, just to make the area around there a little bit better, a little bit more consistently black. And then now what I'll do is I'll zoom in, and then I'll just use one of my my pencil tools or paintbrush tools, depending, and we'll just get rid of this stuff. So we'll make it look a little bit cleaner. If you use the Shift key, you can actually just do perfect lines in Photoshop. So that's what I'm doing here. So Shift, perfect line, just like that. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll take the paintbrush and just kind of get rid of some of the artifacts on the sides here, if I really want to. Depends on how OCD I am in the moment. Sometimes I'm not very OCD at all. Other times I'm quite OCD. A lot of it also depends on like how much time I have on my hands. So this one I've got a little bit more time on my hands, but I also don't want to really bore you guys. So we're gonna also kind of sort of do the same thing. Let's see, let's do it with this red over here, kind of like this. And that wasn't good enough. But no, you get the general idea. You know, I'm not really sure if I really want to do this with Castlevania Bloodlines. So what I think I'm going to do is show you an alternate method. But for copyright logos and stuff like that, I always take them out. I think probably legally I shouldn't, but I just think it makes the box art look better. And I can actually lower the diameter here on my pencil tool. Oops, and that's still red. So I can just fill this in if I really wanted to. Things like that. You know, you could basically just go in pixel by pixel, make things look cleaner. So like these white specks right here, what I generally do is I try to get rid of these as well. And if you look at some of my thumbnails, I mean, they do get pretty OCD like this. Like I would fix that. I really don't like the white specks. I think it just makes the box art look, you know, pretty bad. So yeah, I mean, that's that. One other thing I could do is let's get, say, our Let's Play logo and stuff like that up here. And the gameplay and talk logo. So this kind of gives you a better idea of, you know, what we'd be looking like. So Castlevania Bloodlines here. You know, the C is huge. So one thing I might do sometimes is try to shift the Let's Play logo out. But that means that I end up having to shift the Let's Play or scale the Let's Play logo so it's smaller. But sometimes that's fine. But the thing is, when people are searching for your video, especially when they're on phones, it's better to have the Let's Play logo nice and large so they know it's a Let's Play. If it's small like this, they might not be able to see it very easily. But one thing I do sometimes to sort of allow them to see things a little bit easier is I sort of add shading around the edge of the image. And that's also another way how I sort of make it my own. So what I've got here is I've got a brush tool. It's huge in size. It's like 1,000 pixels. And it's also, if you go up here, you could set the hardness of it. So here is 100% hardness, a big black circle. Well, if you do that same size, but do 0% hardness, look at that. It's you know, it fades out or fades in. So what I do is I go around the sides and I sort of dim things from the outside in. So the brightest part will be the Castlevania logo. And you can drag it and just do it like that. I don't like to do that. I like to sort of just do it one by one and then see how things look. I also don't want to go too far in the bottom because that'll actually make the Castlevania Bloodlines logo itself pretty dark as well. And you know what? The more I do this, the more I might actually just keep this. The more I might actually just keep this. One other thing I like to do is I like to also differentiate my thumbnails from previous thumbnails I've done. Sometimes I don't have a choice just based on the box art that's out there. So let me open up. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. So we're going to actually go ahead and save this template as well. I just did Control S to save. So what I'm going to also do is I'm going to open up a very old thumbnail. So let's, there we go. Go to open. So I have, you know, some kind of structure here in my YouTube. I have a YouTube folder where I keep all my stuff. And I have a folder with all my old thumbnails. And so let's see if, okay, so let's play, and they should be in roughly alphabetical order. So let's look for Castlevania Bloodlines. So here's my Castlevania Bloodlines thumbnail from many years ago. Remember, I was doing the Castlevania Let's Play Marathon. So I made a little marathon logo. But you'll notice that this also isn't 720p. It's 642 by 362 apparently. So it's much lower quality. But you'll notice that what I did is I took a different part of the box and then I chopped out the logo manually. And I did this for just about every Castlevania game for this series. And so I put more work into the thumbnails. And But that kind of gives you an idea of what I could do with this. But this looks different than the other one, so you can kind of put both of them side by side, and kind of like this to get a general idea of the difference. So the bottom one I don't think looks nearly as cool, but it is different. So, you know, when I have multiple videos of the same type on my channel, it's really good that I differentiate the thumbnails, especially if people are seeing them in search results and things like that. You know, they know that they're different. I also try to title the videos differently as well. So if we go back to my uploads here, so this is just kind of an aside. And let me minimize Photoshop. One of the bugs is if I don't minimize Photoshop and I bring up like the web browser or something, the bars on the right and the left still stay up. So this is one of the bugs I have to deal with. But again, like I said, I don't pay for this application anymore. So it's worth it for me. It's worth it to deal with it. So let's go see Toki right here. So one thing I do to differentiate my videos, and some of you guys might have been wondering this, is I have a little 60 FPS edition. My old videos were not 60 FPS, so the updated ones I do. Not only do they usually have different thumbnails, but they also have an extra label. So if you ever see the 60 FPS on the video, a lot of times you can basically tell that this is probably a redo or re-record. And I use the 60 FPS label to sort of differentiate that. So if I type, say if I go to my main channel page here, I search for Toki, it should pop up with two videos for Toki. You'll see the old one right here in the bottom, and then you'll see the new one up top that says 60 FPS. And the title's a little bit different too. So, man, 5 years ago, whew, man, time just really flies, guys. But yeah, you get the general idea. I try to make my my thumbnails a little bit different. So Toki here, actually, you'll notice it's basically the same kind of box art. This old thumbnail, this is just text that I just used from Photoshop itself. Photoshop has a variety of different fonts you can use, and I couldn't get a good snap of the Toki logo, but thanks to there being better box scans now 5 years later, I was able to get the Toki logo and cut it out manually, and then add a border around it, and then align my Let's Play label with that. So it looks a little bit nicer, I think. And then I popped the Nintendo Entertainment System logo there since there was extra space there. Sometimes I'll do that. Sometimes I'll put system logos. I don't always do that. Like here's Mega Man 9. I don't know why this is popping up, but no system logo right there. Primal Rage, sometimes what I'll do for certain systems is, say like Sega Saturn, I'll just take the Sega Saturn bar from a box and I'll just shrink it down. I also do that for my Mega Man X4 Let's Play, actually, which was a little while ago, and it doesn't look like it's going to pop up. So one thing I'm going to do here is, first we're going to max it back out. But I still want to show you one other thing that I might do depending. Probably not on this thumbnail now. I think I'm going to go ahead and just keep this actually. But since I actually sort of darkened the Bloodlines part, I'm going to actually use what's called the dodge function, which will sort of brighten up areas slightly. And unfortunately, it's not making a huge difference with this white text. Not as big of a difference as I hoped. But that's okay. It's not a big deal. It's just to keep the text from looking super dark. Now, because I'm using such a big brush, it's actually brightening the backdrop as well, which is actually fine. So we'll brighten up this C up here as well to make things look a little more even. And that's okay. So I guess in that case, what I would probably do... Castlevania Bloodlines. Let's see what we've got here. Can I bring this up at all? Yeah, that's the problem with the Castlevania logo, is the C is so large that it's very difficult for me to bring it up any farther than it actually is. It'll just start cutting off the C, and I don't like cutting off logos if at all possible. So the issue, you're probably wondering, is like, what are you talking about? Well, this is a different Let's Play. I'm playing this on expert mode. So when I do Let's Plays like that, I do like to note that I'm playing on a harder difficulty. So one thing I'll do sometimes is I've got this black transparent part right here. And I also have a separate subtitle here. Let's see if we can somehow get expert mode in here. Playthrough. So this is the text tool, so we need to actually sort of bring this out a little bit. Kind of like that. And so one thing I think I might actually do here, I don't like doing this. I actually really don't like doing this. So we're going to actually bring the Gameplay and Talk logo up to the top right. Yeah, I really don't like doing this, but I really feel like I don't have much of a choice. And what I'll do in this case is I'll actually shrink down the Gameplay and Talk logo. I always like to keep my sort of branding there. So we'll make the Gameplay and Talk logos smaller. And actually what I'll do is I'll bring it to the top right or top left. So I always want to have my branding there. But to denote that it's an expert mode playthrough, I'll leave it at the bottom. The thing I don't like about leaving it at the bottom, and this is something you really have to keep in mind when you're making thumbnails on YouTube, is you'll notice the time code on the bottom right. That can cover up aspects of your thumbnail. Which is why when you see my thumbnails, you'll notice there's never anything in the bottom right-hand portion of the screen. Or if there is, it's something that comes up and it's still mostly visible. A mistake a lot of people make when they're making thumbnails is they cram stuff in the bottom right-hand portion of the screen. You don't want to do that. Like this Nintendo Entertainment System logo, I don't really care about that. That's just there just because. It's not important. The important part is the Toki title and the Let's Play and my branding, my Gameplay and Talk logo. So anything important I don't put in the bottom right hand portion of the thumbnail. So you look at all these thumbnails, I've got nothing down there. Although actually the Scorcher one, I have the Sega Saturn logo in the bottom right. So you can't even see the Saturn logo, even though I put it there. What I could have done with Scorcher is did a Saturn bar on the left. Same with Doom here. And my Rockman X4 Let's Play. But I didn't do that. So there's also the 3DO logo here on the Need for Speed in the bottom right. You can see it's being covered up by the time code. Same with my Burning Soldier Let's Play. But that's not as important to me as the title and the Let's Play and my branding is. So you've got to watch out for that. So when it comes to Photoshop here, this expert mode playthrough part, the playthrough part's going to be chopped out. You're not going to be able to see it, but this does at least denote that it's different from the previous video. So if people come to my channel and they search for Castlevania Bloodlines, they're going to find multiple videos. They're going to find 2 live Let's Plays and a long play, and I've probably tagged other videos with Castlevania Bloodlines as well, just to hopefully try to get more clicks or views or something. They're going to see the thumbnails, and they're going to see expert mode playthrough, and they might even be more inclined to look at that. And actually, you know, one thing I might do, let's see. You can see how some of these thumbnails requires more experimentation based on like the box art I'm provided. So I can do the Gameplay and Talk logo up there. I can do it up here. Let's just go ahead and just leave it up there. And I'm thinking about this Let's Play label as well. One thing I could technically do is I could try to make it larger. So notice how like the Castlevania Bloodlines itself is kind of veering off to the right a little bit. I kind of like making my things somewhat symmetrical. And so, you know, I can actually stretch the Let's Play part out to sort of match the Bloodlines on the bottom. And that'll make the Let's Play a little bit larger. It'll make it easier to read and search results. It's still smaller than I usually want it. But I also want to make sure things still look pretty respectable. I'm going to go ahead and just leave the Let's Play as just white with a black border. Sometimes I'll try to get fancy if there's a, you know, if there's a game, say like Mega Man X2, which I had just posted the other day, you'll notice the Let's Play actually has a gradient on it. Sometimes I'll do that. I'll try to get the gradient to sort of match the gradient for like the game title or something like that. Or in the case of like Super Mario World here, I'll just I'll cut out the game title from like the spine of the box art, and I'll just try to place it somewhere else where it normally wouldn't be, just to make things more unique or more easily readable, while still seeing like the main part of the game box. So, oh, and I just realized there was a trademark down here. So again, for legal reasons, I should probably keep these in, but I think it kind of detracts from the box art, honestly. So, and for TM logos and stuff like this, I usually just use like the rubber stamp tool, and it'll basically kind of clone areas of the image, so you can overwrite things and sort of keep the natural texture going. So you'll notice there's no more TM, and it just looks kind of natural now. So, and let's just do a couple more very tiny touch-ups here, and then I'm just going to leave it, you know, as is. So let's go ahead and Control S to save it. Always save often. And my other videos in this series, guys, they're not going to be so long-winded. The video editing and stuff like that one is going to be really short and sweet, because I'm not going to show you how I edit like my scripted videos and stuff like that. There's really no point in doing that. What I am going to show you, though, is like my Let's Play templates and sort of what it takes to get a video edited together. It's not a whole lot, actually. It's not that much work. It is time consuming, but it's still, because I use templates, it's still not that bad. All right, pretty good there for the most part. And if I really wanted to, I can go through and I could just sort of like blotch out all these, like, you know, notice how it's bleeding yellow from the tops and bottom. That's probably the normal box art talking itself. So I can't really do a whole lot about that. Same about like the white edges even. So yeah, we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to kind of leave it as is. But let me see if there's anything else just standing out to me. Yeah, I think we're pretty much good. So you guys get the general idea of the process for Castlevania Bloodlines. I'm going to go ahead and do the other thumbnails as well at the same time, just so you guys can see sort of like the live work in progress. Let's go ahead and go to MUSHA. So we're pretty much going to do the same thing here. So let's see if they've got anything for MUSHA here. The thing about, you know, box art is sometimes you're just at the mercy of what is available. And actually, you know what? I might do something different for MUSHA. I'll show you I'm going to download the box anyway, just because I love this game. But let's go ahead and let's bring up my MUSHA Let's Play. So we're going to go to my OBS recording folder. So this is where my recordings are stored. And this is just straight recording from the game. All right. So let's see if we can go back to the title screen here. Okay, so we got a title screen. Okay, this actually isn't going to work. It might... Actually, I have an idea. So what I'm going to do is... You notice how like the logo in this game sort of like flames up? I want to try to get it at its highest brightness. So what I'm going to do is sort of wait... So this is the actual gameplay footage. So this is something I sometimes do. Probably too bright. And that's probably good enough. So what I'm going to do is actually screen cap that. I just do a print screen. And let's go back to Photoshop. And let's see if it got it. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and crop this. So that's all we have. And I can go ahead and close out my gameplay. So this is a way for me to make things more my own, if you will. Now, the idea here is a lot of times you'll get title screens that don't have any logos, or they'll have, like, game start will be flashing. So it'll be on, off, and when it's off, you can get a nice clean screen cap without having any text or anything like that. Now, unfortunately, this is a bad one to capture because you've got all the text, copyright 1990, compile, seismic software, Sega Enterprises, press start button, game start, options, seismic TM. So that's not great, unfortunately, but just to differentiate from the last MUSHA playthrough I've done multiple playthroughs over the years because, you know, it's a personal favorite of mine. What I'm gonna do, let's see if we can take this box here, and unfortunately we're not gonna have a lot of leeway here. But this should, let's see. Okay, that's good enough. That's good enough. One other thing I'll do sometimes is, you know, you'll notice that the scan here is kind of grainy a little bit. So what I'll do is I will blur it. I'll use the blur more function, and then I'll blur it again. And then there's a filter called sharpen edges, and I'll do this a couple of times. That was a little too much. And that is to basically, again, sort of make it my own in a way. So, you know, I blur it out. I sharpen the edges to, you know, retain like a semi-sharpened look. And then I scale it down at that time. So let's go ahead and scale it. Kind of like this. And so that's not the best example of that, but you'll notice that it still looks okay. I don't want to sharpen it much more because it'll make the edges look really garish, unfortunately. But and what's good about MUSHA here is this is a hard mode playthrough. So we're going to also adjust the brightness and contrast on this one. We're going to get rid of the Let's Play logo. So let's go ahead and do that. So image, adjustments, brightness, contrast. And this is to, you know, make things a little bit darker, but also make blacks look a little more black. That's something I also like to do. You know, so you notice how there's a lot more gray now over everything. So I raised the contrast just a little bit, and that might even just be a little too much, you know, for some eyes. But more gray, more black, more gray, more black. So I like to have things a little more, you know, I like the blacks to be black if at all possible. And remember, so this doesn't look like the sharpest image here, but it doesn't have like that textured filter going over it from the scanner. And when it's seen as a thumbnail, it's going to be like this large, and it's going to look nice and crisp, you know, on someone's screen, basically. So, and that's why I do this this trick here. So let's go ahead and chop out the other MUSHA logo, and so this will be interesting. So let's go ahead and max this out. And let's go ahead and just sort of crop this as much as we can. And I go to Image, Crop. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through this manually now. So what we're going to do is really zoom in here. What I also want to do actually is, again, do the Sharpen Edges filter to make the pixels hopefully a tiny bit sharper for editing. So what I would normally do for a game like this is I would prefer to actually just use the actual box art, like the box title and whatnot. But again, because I've done multiple MUSHA videos on my channel, I kind of want this one to stand out a little bit differently. Because when you do duplicate content over the years, I think it all sort of starts to blend in together, and people that have been watching your channel for a while might have a tendency of, you know, kind of tuning out, if you will. This is the wireform tool, so you can basically, you know, select very certain shapes, and then if you wanted to, you can move them around, kind of like that. Not going to do that. We're just going to go ahead and I'm using it to select a very small area. So we selected a very small area. So there we go. And just blow it away like that. And I noticed along the bottom here, you could still see a bit of junk on the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and just take this. It's probably about 2 pixels up. Go all the way across the screen like this. Hit delete, and now we have a nice smooth edge there. All right, so what we're going to do is bring this guy back out and zoom back out. And we're just going to rinse and repeat, kind of like we did before. Now, it should be noted, guys, I'm not a pro at Photoshop. I learned paint programs and Photoshop on my own. I've been doing it for a long time, but I by no means have the best, you know, strategies for doing what I do here. This is just kind of like what I've learned over the years. And ideally, what I'd prefer to do here is keep the pixels like really pixel perfect if I can, but it's not going to happen with this, so I'm not too worried about it. Again, it's going to make things look a little bit different from other thumbnails I've done. And so for this right here, all right, so we have to do this. Okay, so this one I'm going to actually intentionally make cleaner on my own. So for this, we're going to chop out, but we're just going to use the regular selection box for this. So we're going to chop that out manually so it's nice and sharp. And we're going to do the same over here. Just like that. And then we're going to do the same over here. This one's going to take a little more work. If you guys have stuck with me, I appreciate it. I hope this is interesting to you. So I hope you guys enjoy sort of getting an idea of the, you know, the behind the scenes process. Creating the thumbnails can actually take some of the most time, as you can see here. I should say, when it comes to just updating my posts, you know, my video uploads and whatnot, the video editing, not the video editing, the video thumbnail editing part can take the longest sometimes. Like after the video has already been posted. The social media stuff isn't really that long. Getting the description and stuff like that doesn't usually take that long. I'll just copy and paste a previous description so I don't have to repaste like all the Patreon links and stuff like that again and whatnot. All that is basically just a template. And then whatever I have to say about the game or the playthrough itself, then I'll just write, you know, off the top of my head. It's not a big deal. But the thumbnails can take as little as a minute or two to taking kind of a really long time like this. And, you know, I'm not necessarily just doing this because I want to show off like the longest part of the process or the most convoluted part of the process. You know, the most OCD part of the process. Sometimes it's really easy. Sometimes it's just I take the box looks great. I just put Let's Play on top and that's pretty much it. So we're going to go ahead and take this and we're going to slap it on to that. I actually don't really like how it looks all that much, but again, I want it to be differentiated. And unfortunately, this guy right here, we can't bring down any farther. But that's okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually transform this. We're going to make this a little bit smaller. I'm trying to figure out if I want it high or low. I think right in the middle is probably good. But I'm also going to, sometimes what I'll do is I'll take logos and titles and I'll add an emboss or something like that. Unfortunately, the emboss doesn't, by default, doesn't look too great on this, but let's go ahead and lower the depth a little bit. And okay, I'm not actually a fan of that. Let's go ahead and not do that. But what I will do is I'll do a drop shadow. So we just added a shadow, and I always change it from multiply, which kind of blends in with whatever's in the background, to normal. And so with drop shadows, you can change the distance of the shadow. You can change the angle of the shadow, kind of like that. You can change the size of the shadow, so you can make it more blurry. So kind of like so forth. So what I usually do is I'll have a shadow. It looks like the shadow on the artwork is actually going to the right. So I'll go ahead and make the shadow for the logo go to the right as well. And what I'll do is I'll lower the transparency of it a little bit. Yeah, I think that's probably fine. It's not perfect. Like I said, I'm not a professional. I don't go for perfection all the time. But that's that. So now what I want to do is bring up the Let's Play text again. Oops. I have to select the Let's Play text on the right. And notice how that's really kind of blending in. So cranking this up to a larger size might actually fix that. So Let's Play MUSHA. And we can go ahead and I think up here is probably fine. And what I want to do is also save my progress. I definitely don't want to lose all that because I spent a lot of time chopping out this title. But what I do want to do is bring this black transparent bar back up. And I want to bring the hard mode part back up. So we're going to select both on the right. And we're going to go ahead and just select the... Oops, wrong one. I selected the wrong two. We're just going to use the arrow key. As long as you've got the... Alright, I'm going to actually bring this up farther. I'm going to sort of just get things crammed here in a way. So I'm going to bring the MUSHA logo back up. Kind of like this. Let's Play MUSHA. And we're going to bring the Let's Play logo up farther as well. So alignment is really important to me as well. And you'll notice this black bar in the bottom is larger than it should be. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to transform it. That's what's great about this simple black bar I have here. I can just scale it like this to what I want. And we'll actually make this even thinner. Kind of like that. And let's go ahead and bring those back up a little bit more. Actually, the black bar, I do want... It actually looks a little awkward with the text being towards the top of the bar. So that's actually kind of why I had it the way I did. So there we go. So Let's Play MUSHA hard mode playthrough. So if someone's searching through my videos, they're gonna see you know, a MUSHA thumbnail that's quite different from my other ones. And if I really wanted to, I could take all three of these and sort of bring them down a little bit, which I might actually do. I mean, we're blocking out the guy in the background. It's not really a huge deal. But keeping everything centered can also be nice. And if I wanted to, I could do exactly what I did with my Bloodlines playthrough. And this Let's Play text up here, I could probably do something else with as well. Like I could add a better drop shadow, perhaps. You know, change the spread, change the size, veer it off to the right a little bit more, just to let the Let's Play logo itself stand out. And to have it sort of match the MUSHA logo as well. Now, that's actually not as bad. The Let's Play itself stands out a little bit more. It almost has a pseudo 3D effect on it. One other thing I could do is, if I really wanted to, and I do this sometimes, is I will take the black transparent bar and I will put it behind, say, the Let's Play text or something else that is kind of hard to read. So kind of like this, you know. I don't really like that, so I'm not going to do that. But sometimes I'll just I'll demonstrate or experiment like that. And again, lastly, what I could do is, if I really wanted to, I could use the brush tool again, and by using the black color, you've got your color selection here. We can try to make things look and I don't really like that either. It makes the text easier to read, but not a huge fan of that either. So let's go ahead and just delete all those brush tools that we used. One thing I could do is, if I really wanted to, is maybe just do it on the bottom here. Kind of like that. That's one thing I could do. Let's see. I don't really think that's necessary because there is that black bar that says hard mode playthrough. And the brush might be just a little too much. But I can also try it again. Just a teensy tiny bit. So it's a little more subtle now. See? A little more subtle. I think I like it actually being kind of a little more subtle like that. Let's see if we can do it to the top as well. I think the top we're going to leave, but the bottom we're going to go ahead and leave shaded in a little bit. So there we go. MUSHA Let's Play. And actually, I think I'm gonna boost the stroke up on my Let's Play part as well. So you can see how you can make the stroke huge. It's basically a border. You can make it look really crappy, or you can make it look a little more respectable. It was actually at 4 points or 4 pixels. So I think we'll do 5. 6 might be a little too much. We'll do 5 pixels. And then again, the full 720p. That's it. That's our thumbnail. So let's go ahead and save it. So let's play MUSHA. MUSHA hard mode. And if I'm ever looking for the thumbnail again, that's how I differentiate from existing thumbnails I have. Let's go ahead and see what the cover project has for Outrun 2019. And they don't have anything for Outrun 2019. That's awful, actually. So, okay, so from that point, what I would do is I would do Outrun 2019 on Google and see what comes up. You can do Google image searches, and what I'll do is I'll do tools, size, large, and I'll see if there's anything good. I basically just look for regular box art. You know, I'll look for regular box art, and but the problem is it doesn't look like we're getting a whole lot. We've got one from Moby Games right here, and it's not the best kind of box art either. You can tell how the scan is, you know, you got the bar going up the side. There's a lot of post editing that I'd have to do on this one to get it to look decent. But one thing I could do is maybe just take the center right here and then chop out the logo. Chopping out the logo would be actually probably not that bad on this one because it's got a lot of a same color. I could probably use the magic wand selection tool to select most of that and then manually select the red parts on the inside. I would take that, maybe emboss it or something, and then slap it on the middle here. So, you know, I take existing box art that's on the internet, I try to chop it up. You know, again, I sort of try to make it my own, basically. There have been instances where I haven't been able to find good box art at all. So if we actually go in here and we go back and open. So let's go to Let's Play Doom. This should be pretty easy to find. Where is it? So here we go. Here is my Let's Play thumbnail for Doom on Super Nintendo. This is my actual cartridge of Doom. I just slapped it on my counter, took a picture with my phone, and that's how we got the box art. And then I just, you know, tilted, you know, the text. This is actually really old now, so it's not quite as sharp as I would currently make it, but you kind of get the general idea. Sometimes I'll just take my own photos and use them as the basis, but that's kind of like a last-ditch effort, sort of like desperation move, if you will. So with Outrun 2019, what I might actually do is I might do a similar thing to what we just did with MUSHA. So let's go back and go to this and see if we can get a title screen. Let's actually go back. So there we go. So the nice thing is I'm using the OSSC to do this, the open source scan converter. And so we might actually be able to get a relatively crisp title screen image. And let's go ahead and just let it play. I want that bar to go away in the bottom. Actually, I have an idea there. So you notice how like the screen actually, you know, it brightened up. So I wanted to capture it brightened up like that. What's great about this brightened image is that there is nothing on it. It's a clean slate. So this is actually pretty good. So let's go ahead and crop that. Let's take that, post it into our Let's Play template. So I'm going to go ahead and sharpen these edges as well, just to get the pixels looking a tiny bit sharper. And transform and scale. And we'll bring that like that. Let's go ahead and bring this up. Okay. All right. So this could actually be our backdrop. This actually might work out, believe it or not. Sometimes this is what I end up having to do for my Let's Plays. But I also want the Outrun 2019 logo. So let's go ahead and minimize Photoshop again. And let's go back a little bit, hit play. And so I'm basically just using the print screen key. So I just did print screen again. Remember, I wanted to do it with the, well, actually, the pause logo actually doesn't even matter, or the game start logo doesn't matter, because I already got the backdrop. So here's the idea, is I'm going to try to chop out that Outrun 2019 logo. And I don't know if this is going to work, but I do have sort of a last-ditch thing to try. All right, so yeah, this is going to be tough to do, actually. Yeah, this is going to be tough. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do this. So one thing I can try to do is just make everything about as black as possible. Kind of like that. I think this is actually easier than trying to manually select everything. The nice thing about this Outrun logo right here is that there's a big black border around just about every part of text. So I can actually go in and basically just remove the city lights from the background. So what I'm going to do is actually just sort of draw around it, and then I'm just going to use the magic wand tool to select everything at once. And then we've got ourselves a nice clean Outrun 2019 logo. So let's just go ahead and do this manually here. Now doing things like this can get a little tiring on my hands and my arm. Especially right now. Like I just woke up a little while ago, right before doing this video. I woke up, ate some peanuts, ate some goldfish, drank a drink, and went straight to this video. So, you know, my body's not really woken up. I haven't done any exercises or anything. So my body is a little tense. It's a little stiff, especially after doing this for an hour. Always have your hands on Control Z. That's the undo function for many, many different applications, including Photoshop. By the way, Outrun 2019 is a really fun game. Hopefully you guys check out the Let's Play of it. Yeah, it's probably not the most interesting Let's Play from a commentary standpoint, because there's only so much to talk about in the game, but it is a really fun game. I do really recommend playing it. It's quite nice. It's the Outrun game most have probably forgotten about, because, you know, they look at it, they say, oh, that's not Outrun, but it definitely feels like Outrun. It was not originally an Outrun game, but, you know, it still feels like an Outrun game. Great music, too. Okay, so we're making progress here. This actually isn't too bad. Yeah, so I was actually going to do just 2 thumbnails, but I figured, you know what, since we've got all 3 here, for those of you few that actually watch through this whole thing, you'll get to see the final product on my actual channel and be able to go, oh, I saw him make those. And that is pretty much it. All right, so what I'm going to do is now we're going to use this magic wand tool. I think that's fine. So we're going to select the insides as well. Just like this. And what we're going to do is we've selected all the black, basically. So I can delete the black if I wanted to. Which I might actually do. I might save this logo. But I'm going to select inverse, which makes me select just the logo itself. Bam. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and scale that. Let's play Outrun 2019. So you'll notice that, you know, it kind of blends in with the background a little bit. Well, this is where, first of all, we're going to do brightness and contrast a little bit on the background. So let's adjust the brightness and contrast. You know, if I wanted to, I could really lower the brightness to make it look a lot like the game itself, because this is more like what it looks like in game. Do I want to do that? That's a good question, actually. I really don't know if I want to do that. I think we might have to do that just because this text is so bright. But the great thing is, you know, we were able to get a nice clean slate to work with, as opposed to, you know, so if we bring up Windows Media Player again, you can see you've got the trademark logo up there. It just looks more grainy. So what we did is we basically got a similar cityscape. It actually has a little more detail for us because we got a snapshot while it was brightened up. And the Outrun 2019 logo looks much more crisp. So we basically have a lot more flexibility. But what I'll do is I'll add the usual drop shadow, and you know, I'll just have it go downwards a little bit. Always enable anti-aliasing, and it just makes things look a little bit smoother. And so there we go. A little bit of a drop shadow, nothing special. But one thing I could do, so if I wanted to, I could add a stroke effect just to give it more of an outline, which, you know, I might actually end up doing that. I might do that. Let's see if we can raise the stroke a little bit, though. Yeah, I don't know. Let's disable the stroke for now. One other thing I'll do sometimes is if it's clashing with the background too much, I'll try to add an outer glow. And so I don't really know what would be a good color for the outer glow, though. Maybe white. Let's just try white and see what happens here. And then we'll just raise the size and spread of it. See, if you add the spread too much, it basically adds a stroke kind of effect. So I usually keep the spread low, and then I raise the size to sort of do this. But, you know, I'm not really a fan of that either. Granted, you can minimize the effect by, for one, changing it to screen, or multiply, where it kind of multiplies it with the background. It's not really doing it how I want it to. I could lower the opacity of the effect as well. So let's see. So what I might be able to do is actually, I might leave it like that actually. But one other thing I might want to do is just try to get an outer glow that matches more of like the, you know, what we're seeing on the background. So it just blends much more naturally. And then I can maybe enable the stroke again, which I think I might do. I think that might actually be enough. So it's very faint, but you can sort of see me enabling and disabling the outer glow. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just leave it at that. I'm going to lower the... Yeah, because this is going to be very subtle. People aren't going to really notice this too much in the thumbnail itself when it's shrunken down a little bit. So let's go ahead and bring up our Let's Play again. Let's play Outrun 2019. And I'm going to actually shrink down the Let's Play just a little bit. And because some people... No, we're going to go ahead and just leave it as is. I was going to add the Sega Genesis logo, but I don't think it's really necessary. Also, I've got that heavy drop shadow on the Let's Play, so what I'm going to do is actually just get rid of that. Or make it much smaller. Because it's kind of unnecessary for this part. I'm still going to keep a drop shadow, but... if I wanted to go one step further, what I could do is... I could take the gradient overlay here. Or not even gradient overlay. I can just do a color overlay where I get a similar color as that. But I'm not really sure if I'm a huge fan of that either. If I wanted to, I'd probably want to do a gradient overlay instead. So you guys can see like all the experimentation that has to go into making a thumbnail. I don't go in usually with the game plan on my thumbnails. See, with this gradient here, I'm just trying to get it to sort of match the Outrun 2019. Unfortunately, I can't really match the pixelated look, which is kind of a shame. And I can also change the opacity or opacity. Yeah, and I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I feel like I might be better off just leaving it white because it stands out a lot more. So, but that's one thing I sometimes do with these. But you know, I think we're probably good. I don't need to make it. I don't think we really need to do anything. I think we're gonna go ahead and just leave it as is. So there you have it, guys. That was 3 thumbnails that took actually an hour and a half to create, just about. So. You guys can kind of start to see probably the amount of work that can go into making thumbnails. Even when you already have box art and stuff like that, you still need to try to do things to make them your own. So there we go. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this Outrun 2019 logo, actually, and I'm going to save it. So I have a separate folder for like logos and stuff like that. So... So game logos, Outrun 2019. And so I actually, you know, all that work I just put into making that logo, I just was able to save it. And you know what I should do as well? And actually, I'm going to take this cityscape as well. And I'm going to save this as well. So let's see, I don't know, let's try backgrounds, I don't know. Outrun 2019. So some of this stuff that I do, I should probably save it. And I should probably get into the habit of saving it. Like this MUSHA logo. I'm going to also go ahead and save this too. Because I put the time into making it. I might as well save it in case I need it in the future. I might not need it in the future, but the thing is, when you're streaming and stuff like that, sometimes you think to yourself, man, I'm playing MUSHA. It'd be really cool if I had a MUSHA logo right now. Title screen logo. And now I do. And I can bring that into my stream software. And I've got it. Now all I need to do now is just back it up, basically. So, but that's pretty much that. Let's go ahead and just get some of this other stuff closed out. And let's minimize Photoshop. Let's go ahead and bring up YouTube again. We're not going to need this box art. So I was able to actually make my own thing from the ground up, which is always satisfying. And let's go back to Outrun 2019, get that posted. And you can see now already my thumbnails have appeared. So there's my MUSHA thumbnail. There's my Castlevania Bloodlines thumbnail. And let's go ahead and post the Outrun. So there you have it, guys. That is pretty much it. This is a super long-winded video. If you managed to make it all the way to this point, I appreciate you hanging out with me. I hope you got some insight on how I do my thumbnails for my channel. I basically go through the same process for, you know, other imagery from my stream overlays and stuff like that to, you know, specific types of images in videos. So like my Zoop scripted video from last year is a good example. There's a lot of imagery in there that I had to, you know, go through Photoshop to create and edit and change and so forth. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what I do for my Let's Play thumbnails. It is time consuming. Sometimes it's faster than others, but I basically go through the same process for my stream thumbnails as well. So, all of my stream thumbnails are, basically the same process. So, I've got my Mario World stream thumbnail right here. Once it loads, and I basically go through the same process. So this thumbnail was also, I chopped out the Mario World logo from the side of the box, added the black transparent bar behind it to make it easier to read. Same with this Quake Scourge of Armagon thumbnail. The Quake logo is actually separate. I took that from, elsewhere, added some filters on it, and placed it above the Scourge of Armagon logo on the Scourge of Armagon box art. So I used the box art for this game and just pasted the Quake logo on top. And this was pasted into my Gameplay and Talk live stream template. So it's basically the same process for, from video to video. My Bloodlines one, I wish I had the expert mode playthrough up a little bit higher, because, the timestamp is going to block it out. So as you can see right here already, the timestamp is covering the playthrough section. So, but overall, I think it turned out pretty well. I hope you guys, learned something from that. And if you have any questions or comments or need some assistance, if you're like, say, new to Photoshop or something like that, just feel free to post a comment down below. I apologize that this was so long-winded, but that's what it's like when you're doing these things in the moment. So, but yeah, we'll see if I can add some editing and stuff like that. Maybe not, probably not. But I'll be back with some other things in the future, some similar types of videos, like going over my stream setup, going over how I edit my Let's Plays, and what video editing software I use, how I record my audio and stuff like that, and how I do like noise reductions and things like that. I've got a multi-tiered, multi-step process, and I know that some of you guys just might be interested to hear about that. So. But thanks for hanging out with me, guys. Thanks for watching. And I guess until the next one, take it easy.